Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Good morning and happy 2021. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Alex Curry, live from Los Angeles, and I'm joined by Michael Vick, LeVar Arrington, and Greg Jennings. Guys, let me be the first to wish you all a happy new year. How's it going so far?
Oh, man, it's going great. You know what? I'm welcoming 2021 with open arms. LeVar and Greg are as well. And look, man, this is going to be a year to remember. I'm putting a stamp on it. I'm speaking it into existence. All good things this year. 2021, here we come, baby.
I'm stepping with you, Mike.
I love it.
No doubt.
Stepping with you, 7. It's
right there
it's
with
7,
you.
but it's 21. 20 was tough, but 20 was good.
Yeah.
Gave you an opportunity to learn a whole lot. You know, we can make it.
Yeah.
That's what I came out of 2020 with. Like, you know what? You know what, Alex?
Mm-hmm. What?
We can make it.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
We can make it.
We can make it, Greg.
How you feeling, Greg?
Every year is a new opportunity for progress. And so that's all I'm expecting. Great expectations as always, even as it was for 2020. Like the guy said, it's time for better.
Yes.
I love it. And look how we're all starting it here, bright and early on Undisputed. So let's get to it
bright and early.
and start with some football. Will we finally be able to crown the NFC East winner this Sunday? Washington can steal the division with a win over Philadelphia. However, if they lose, then it will be the winner of the Cowboys and Giants game that will be playoff bound. So, LeVar, how will the NFC East play out on Sunday?
There will be one team that navigates this gauntlet. And I may sound a tad bit biased, 7, but I think it's going to be Washington. Hey, Greg, listen, let me set the stage here, all right? I played in the NFC East. You played in the NFC East. When you look at these matchups, you look at the Eagles versus the Washington football team. If you didn't know this, the Eagles have a superiority complex against the Washington football team. They think they're better, Mike. They always think they're better. Y'all bring more fans when y'all come to FedEx Field. You think you're better. So I look at this and it's like, man, knowing that Alex Smith is going to be back out there, that gives me hope that this Washington team is going to be the king author of this weekend. I think that you got Lancelot and Chase Young, superstar stud. But then you go over into Dallas and with the Giants, they have superiority complexes towards both of each other, right?
Right.
Giants think they're better than Dallas. Dallas thinks they're better than the Giants. So it's going to be an awesome matchup. You're talking about the city of brotherly love versus Chocolate City, the Big D versus the Big Blue. It's going to be an awesome weekend of games because it's all NFC East that determines who's going to make it to the playoffs. But I think Washington wins it.
You know what? I'm excited because, this division was called the NFC least all season long. And it was for the most part, but then you get guys emerging, like Alex Smith for the Washington football team, and I think he stepped up tremendously. It was what they needed with Coach Ron Rivera. I do think the Cowboys beat the Giants this week, but I think to no avail. I think it's just too late. The Cowboys did turn up late, but as of right now, all signs showing that Alex Smith coming to play. And I think the football team, going to put themselves in the position where, look, they win this weekend, they compete in the postseason. I like where they at. So it's a storybook ending for Ron Rivera. It's a storybook ending for the football team, man, and it couldn't have ended a better way. But what the Dallas Cowboys got to learn, next year, 2021, you got to start a little faster. And I got to give props to Mike McCarthy because he galvanized the team. They hung in there. They put forth their best effort. It was just a little too late. So, as of right now, I like where they sit. They beat the Giants. They go into 2021 with some
good feeling.
With some enthusiasm and something to feel good about. But the Washington football team, they'll take the next step. They'll take the next level.
Gee.
I mean, you guys have just completely handed it over to the Washington football team. I knew LeVar was going to do it.
Oh,
but,
come on. I played for the Giants, too, though.
No, come on now. We know where your allegiance really rests. It rests with the Washington football team. However, I do agree with you guys.
I think we all can agree on this.
And for me, it goes a little deeper. When you look at this team without Alex Smith, they're just not that good. You're talking 18 points per game on offense, and that's where it matters. Let's be honest. That's where it matters. That's where it's been. That's where it's been most impactful when we look at this team. Alex Smith has this team when he does play at about 26, 27 points per game. And then over 325 yards per game. And without him, they're bottom tier in almost every statistical category. And you just can't win football games like that. And he also brings just a calm. He understands what Ron Rivera is trying to get done. When you look at that position across the league, you have to have stability. And what Alex Smith brings to the Washington football team is just that. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, I believe they do have a chance because, like I said, the Washington football team, they've shown resilience all year, and that's all they have to do is be resilient. Again, one more week and they're in. But if they slip up, the Dallas Cowboys are right there, and I really like this team offensively. They've been doing some things good defensively, but offensively, they've found their rhythm. They've gotten the ball to their playmakers. Averaging 36 points a game over their winning streak, their last 3 games, and only allowing 19 points on defense, which has been really good when you look at what they weren't able to do defensively all year long. And Vic, you talked about it. It's been a great job by Mike McCarthy. And far too often we jump on these head coaches as well as players as far as their chemistry and what they're not able to do with so little time in a year one. Like, it's year one, and they've been afforded less time with one another in person and on the field. So I think he's done a really good job of really tying the knot to so to speak, to where they have an opportunity that we're talking about them right now.
You know what's interesting about Washington and their scenario? When I was there, and even in years past, there's always confusion that seems to deteriorate the season. Looking at the Dwayne Haskins releasing this past week, and looking at how he handled things and the position he puts himself in, Ron Rivera bodied him.
Yeah.
First-round draft pick gets bodied. Like, take it on in.
Yeah.
Turn the book in. There's not going to be that state of confusion that derails this football team now.
Yeah.
And so there was no confusion of, is this a cultural shift, or is this just are you flexing of the muscle? Like, this is not going to happen this way, but it's still Washington football, team football. No, Ron Rivera said, look, all y'all on notice, if a top draft pick at the quarterback's position can get bodied during the season, anybody can get it. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that's me in that locker room, I'm not looking at it being scared. I'm looking at it like, we got a real one. We got to be real ones. And I think that that's going to be the catalyst for them moving forward.
Yeah, you got to accept that. And I think for Ron Rivera, he's a guy who's a genuine leader. And when he walks into the locker room and every word he says, it sounds off throughout that locker room. And when you got a guy like Alex Smith and Ron Rivera paired together, you get the best of both worlds. You got that total leadership right there at your disposal. So this is what the Washington football team needed. They had a lot of turmoil last year, a lot of turmoil coming into this season. And now they get to clean it up quietly. And, a playoff berth does a lot for this team. Confidence moving forward. Like I say, it's what they brung Alex Smith and Ron Rivera to this team for, and now it's paying off, paying big dividends on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. Ron, the defensive guru, and Alex, he got the brain power at the offensive position, at the quarterback position.
You do know, G and Mike, what I do tend to question, and you guys have given Mike McCarthy so much credit here, and I believe that he's done well as of late in salvaging what's taking place. But this has been advertised as a Super Bowl ready team. And looking at this Dallas team, if they miss the playoffs because of another team, if they miss them, then now doesn't the conversation to you become, where do you go? How do you justify what took place this season when all of the discussion points were surrounding this Dallas team being a Super Bowl ready team?
Yeah, Dallas coming to the season every year is the favorites to win the NFC East and to possibly compete for the Super Bowl. And for all the right reasons. You know, they always have the team starting out the season that can compete, you know, for the Super Bowl. And then slowly but surely things start to go left, and they lose a guy, and they lose Dak, and yada, yada, yada. And it's always been that way. But, you know, I think this team learn a lot from this season. You know, going into next season, you know, they got to look at all the flaws, all the mistakes. And I'll say it again, Mike McCarthy did a great job with this team. Kellen Moore called the plays. It was a lot of variables, a lot of things that he had to deal with. And I can understand that from a head coach perspective, him just saying, all right, we're going to do it y'all way this year. Next year, we're going to do it my way. So, I mean, I think they got some good things coming their way. They just got to stick with the plan, continue to build in free agency through the draft, sign Dak first and foremost, and then maybe some good things will come to this team come 2021.
For me, that's where it starts, and that's where it always has been. The focus point is Dak Prescott. Them, in my opinion, not making him their guy, only talking about it, telling all of us that Dak is our guy, but not putting it in paper, in ink, in a contract. It meant nothing. And so then when he goes down, now you have guys in the locker room questioning, what are they going to really do? Are they really going to bring Dak back? And it impacted not only the offense, but the guys individually, like Ezekiel Elliott. I truly believe that when we all thought the year prior, Ezekiel Elliott was the driving force. And all the while, Dak Prescott had been kind of fiddling his thumbs, understanding, like, this is my team. I have done so much groundwork to keep this team together, not just offensively, but collectively, to where we didn't make the playoffs. We weren't competitive, so to speak, to make the playoffs, but we were always in conversations. We were always at the top of discussion because of the play and the leadership that he brought to the table, and we always thought they had a chance. When you get Dak Prescott back, this is a different team. Defensively, they got to shift some things around. That's where they've struggled majority of the season, is on that side of the ball. You got to make some changes. It possibly, in my opinion, I think you make the change at the defensive coordinator spot starting off.
That's what I was going to say.
And then you start to go look at the players, but you got to start there, in my opinion.
Two offensive dudes saying replace the defensive coordinator. Ain't that about a
defense wins championships, man?
Well, they said that used to be that way. I don't know. I think it's offenses win championships these days, and defenses are just there to
we just got to score, put points on the board, baby.
Well, the good news for Dallas is that even without Dak, they've figured it out and played some of their best football the last 3 weeks. But as you guys mentioned, it's Washington's weekend, and it would be such an incredible story for their team, Ron Rivera, and especially Alex Smith. But let's move on, because Tom Brady has already ended the Buccaneers' playoff drought and also set the team record for passing touchdowns in a single season through only 15 games. But Bruce Arians has higher expectations for Brady beyond just the regular season. Earlier this week, Arians said it's Super Bowl or bust for his team. So, Mike, does Tom Brady need a Lombardi trophy to justify his move to Tampa?
You know, I don't think Tom Brady needs another trophy. I think he got more than enough. I think right now, this is about house money for Tom Brady. And for Bruce Arians, you look around your locker room and you see Tom Brady, first and foremost, Mike Evans, Gronk, Chris Godwin, Pierre Paul, Dominican Sue. And you look around, you say, I got a Super Bowl team. And then you say, it's Super Bowl or bust. That's totally understandable. And Bruce has done a great job, you know, pairing with Tom Brady and showing that if he has the right quarterback, that he can be the guru that we see him as. And you know, this been on full display. It's been up and down. It's been rocky all season. But they found a way to mount that comeback. And I just think they needed a little bit more than what they got from Jameis Winston. And they got that with Tom Brady. Less interceptions, more touchdowns. And they found themselves in the postseason. So, you know, it goes without saying. They brung Tom to Tampa for a reason. They got what they were looking for. They got a playoff berth right in their lap. And then next year, 2021, you know, I'll be singing a different tune. It will be Super Bowl or bust. We will be saying that at the start of the season. So, you know, they're in a good position right now. You know, they're in a good position. They still got a chance to compete for the Super Bowl. It's all right there in front of them. So it's not over. You know, they'll probably end up playing a team out of the NFC East in the playoffs, first round, advance to the second round. And so the Super Bowl or bust comment, it's a real thing, but they just got to go out and make it happen.
It sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Like, Bruce Arians is the leader of this team. He's the head coach. What is he supposed to come out and say? Hey, if we don't win the Super Bowl,
say the right thing.
It's okay. You know, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to say that.
Right.
Yeah, you want to keep these dudes motivated. But as it applies to Tom Brady, let's be clear here. Everybody said he had to leave New England because he wanted too much money, but he was washed up, right? So it's like, okay, if Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay and everybody said it and played poorly, and if Tampa Bay achieved poorly, then everybody's going to sit there and be like, you know what? They were right. Bill Belichick made him. He's a system quarterback. Yeah. Tom Brady may not be one of the greatest of all time. It was all New England and Bill Belichick's Patriot way. Well, that's interesting because coming into the season, it's like, all right, if that's how we're going to judge Tom Brady, I'm not saying Super Bowl or bust to make it justified that Tom Brady was a good move for Tampa Bay, right? You look at what's taking place here. Let's see, Bucs versus Patriots, because this is how I'm judging it. Points, the Bucs, they ranked 5th. The Patriots, lowly 28. Yards per game, 11th for the Bucs. Patriots, 29th. Wow, little consistency here. Passing yards, Bucs, 3rd. Patriots, 30th.
My God.
If you're telling me that that's not enough justification, then let me give you one more before I let you have it, G-Money. One more little piece of information. Last year, the Patriots went 12-4, a game shy away from being the number 2 seed going into the playoffs. This year, let's see, 6-9. First losing season since 2000. What's the significance of 2000 other than me being in that draft? One Tom Brady was drafted in that 2000 draft. So I say this, Super Bowl, not necessary. The damage has already been done.
Just by making the move.
Crowning. Tom Brady is who we thought he was. Yeah. Crowning, G-Money.
Tom Brady is who we thought he was, but I disagree with both of you. It is Super Bowl or bust for this team. Period.
Come on.
This is why they put this team together, to win the Super Bowl. They don't have an extensive amount of time. Tom Brady isn't under a 4-year deal. He has 2 years on his deal. It is win now. This team is configured to win right now. They're not configured to wait. When you look at Ndamukong Suh, we don't know if he'll be back next year. Even Pierre-Paul, the level of play that they're getting in production out of these older guys, the pieces that they have on this roster right now, this team is built to win right now. That's why you made the reach to go and get Tom Brady, because you felt like right now, if we insert him, this is our chance. It's like the LeBron James effect. And I have a little unfair advantage because I spoke to Bruce Arians and Tom yesterday. And I'm talking to them, and I told Tom, I'm like, you have this halo effect like LeBron James. Wherever you go, the expectation is to bring what you have right there. That is those championships. That is those Lombardi trophies. That is success. And when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they haven't had it. And so now you enter into the playoffs. Check. That's not enough. That was never the goal. That's a starting point. That's a box that needed to be checked so that they can accomplish what they ultimately wanted. But trust and believe, this team was configured to win right now. And the expectation is of such. You go out and you acquire Antonio Brown off the streets. Why? To add depth, to ensure, to kind of have an insurance policy so that this thing of what you want to accomplish is still at your grasp. This team is not built to wait next year. I get it. He's still going to be there. But we don't know if we're going to see the same Tom Brady that we're seeing right now. And he's been playing good. He's had some up and down days, but he's been playing good enough for this team to be successful and to win a championship. And they're hitting a hot stride right now. And so I think their time is now. They know it's now. They don't want to wait.
You know, Jay, I don't disagree with what you're saying. The only thing I look at and the biggest variable is, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been inconsistent with their protection, keeping Tom Brady clean. And come playoff time, you know, they're going to face some serious pass rushes. And we might say this a lot throughout the show. You know, every team in the National Football League, no OTAs, no mini camp.
Yes.
No training camp.
Yes.
And it was a setback. You know, it didn't allow the young guys to flourish and then allow the older guys to learn their offenses and get better. So, you know, I think in terms of, you know, longevity and consistency, you know, the offensive line is going to be a staple for this team. They got to get that part right. They get that right, and I think it'll happen next year because right now it's late. You got guys shuffling in and out of the line, but just a bunch of moving parts. You know, that needs to be fixed before they can compete for an NFC championship and for the Super Bowl. So I think they're 1 year away.
G said AB came off the street with some Mike and Ike, some Jolly Joes, and some Boston baked beans for the locker room. Off them streets. Hey, listen, I like your argument, G. I really do. But if I'm answering the essence of the question, let me read this question one more time. Bruce Arians says it's Super Bowl or bust. The question is, does Tom Brady need a Lombardi trophy to justify the move? That does not, what your answer was, a justification for the team. You are 100% correct in justifying a Lombardi trophy for Tampa Bay. But for Tom Brady, the other TB in the Tampa Bay, it's already been justified. You know why? When's the last time this team has gone to the playoffs?
Tampa needed Tom.
Tampa needed Tom, G. So the bottom line is the minute they became a qualifier for the playoffs, Mike,
it was a success.
It was already justified.
Yep.
Already justified.
I hear you and I understand that. But when you look at the pedigree that Tom Brady brings to the table, when has going to the playoffs ever been his criteria of success?
Yeah.
It's never been.
That's fair.
He didn't go to Tampa Bay saying, you know what, I want to get this team into the playoffs because they hadn't been.
But that's expectation,
so
though.
I feel like
we got to be clear here on the
that.
details, G. That's an expectation.
I understand that.
The expectation may not have been reached just by getting to the playoffs, but the justification is certainly there on the table.
I've had a lot of fun watching Tom navigate through this season because this is probably the most turmoil we've seen him have in a long time as far as pressure, getting hit. But, you know, the way he battled back, you know, it's been a staple for him. You know, it showed that he has the courage, he has the heart, he still has the wherewithal to keep it all together. So, you know, I mean, in terms of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're 1 year away. And, Greg, look, I agree with what you're saying in some senses, but, you know, we got to give this team some time to really gel and come together.
He got Super Bowls. You know, he's got a championship.
Yeah, he's
so
a
he's
Super Bowl
flexing
champion
on us right now. That's all that really is, G. You've done it to me on social media. Alex, he's done it to me so many different times. You know what I mean? I get it, G. I get it. You're flexing.
Rub it in.
Yeah, flexing.
Well, then you're not going to like me here because I'm siding with Greg on this. When you look at Tom Brady, he obviously won the divorce with the Patriots, getting the Bucs to the playoffs for the first time in 13 years. But it's Tom Brady. You know, even if he's not saying it, for him personally, he's the best at his position. He is thinking Super Bowl or bust, because that's what those elite athletes always think and always need for themselves and obviously for everybody else. So, Greg, I'm with you on this one, but we are moving on. No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharp. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy. Aaron Rodgers has overtaken Patrick Mahomes as the MVP favorite in recent weeks and is looking to solidify it on Sunday. Rodgers trails Mahomes in passing yards, but has 6 more touchdowns and will play Week 17, while Mahomes will sit out since the Chiefs have already locked up the 1 seed in the AFC. So, LeVar, will Aaron Rodgers lock up MVP this weekend, and what would a third MVP mean for his legacy?
Alex, it's already been done. It's already locked up.
Locked.
The key is gone.
It's locked.
Aaron Rodgers has thrown away the key. He locked it up against Tennessee. I looked at that game as a deciding factor game, Mike. You come into that game, it's a cold weather game, and although you're at home, I'm looking at Tennessee like they're going to be too physical for them. They're going to be too physical on offense. It's going to keep them off the field. You're not going to see vintage Aaron Rodgers. They're going to take him on defense and be too physical, and it's going to make him uncomfortable. And all he did was go out there and snap out. And to me, that solidified a Rodgers that ranks first in TDs, a Rodgers that ranks first in quarterback ratings. Now, here's which one's interesting, because Pat Mahomes was in the conversation and pulled himself back into it, but turnovers, you know, I just feel like the way we're judging our MVPs now, which is quarterback heavy, and turnovers. Are you protecting the ball or are you not? Well, Pat Mahomes is 7th.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers, he's tied for 3rd. And the other guys that he's tied with and that are ahead of him, they're not MVP guys. So, of course, he's already locked that up. And as far as legacy, this would be his 3rd MVP crown. Let's think about the company he's keeping. Peyton Manning, Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Brett Favre, who he predecessed, and one Tom Brady. Those are goats of goats, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you would have to say that his legacy says he's a top 5 to 6 player of all time with that 3rd crown.
Yeah, top 5 of all time, guaranteed. He probably even less than that. Greg, call your boy Aaron Rodgers and tell him it's locked up this weekend. Tell him I said congratulations. Send your boy away from Mike Vick, man. Look, man, Aaron Rodgers, you know, they're going to go into Chicago this week, and they're going to beat the brakes off Chicago. Right. It's going to be vintage Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot at stake in this game. And, you know, first of all, it's a divisional game. Greg, you know what it's like to play against Chicago Bears. You know how they get up for those games. And Aaron Rodgers with 44 touchdowns and 5 picks this year. The touchdown-interception ratio is always something that I've always hung my hat on. And it means that you're scoring more touchdowns and keeping the ball away from the defense. And Aaron has done a great job of that. And when you do that, you win at least 70% of your games. So, you know, Aaron has done a phenomenal job. Got to give credit to Matt LaFleur and, you know, Aaron Jones and every guy, Devontae Adams, everybody who's made a contribution to this team and their success this year. But it all started with Aaron Rodgers, and I think most importantly, the ability to do it with the 1st-round pick behind you on the sideline, ready to replace you.
I feel like Devontae Adams is probably the best receiver that he's ever had to throw the ball to, including... Nah, I'm messing with you, G. Hey, G.
We'll let G touch on that.
Nah, I'm messing with you. Yeah, you the man,
greatest
G.
One of the greatest Packers of all time.
Yeah.
G, you got the floor.
Yeah, go ahead, G. I'm messing with you.
Look, what will it mean for Aaron Rodgers? It would mean a lot. He obviously wants it. He's been in pursuit of it. He's outwardly spoken about it. Something that we haven't heard him do over the course of his career is speak about an individual accomplishment. But I believe the reason why he understands the magnitude of this is because it helps his team. Yeah. It is what it is. It's the most valuable player. And when you look at what he's been able to do with less, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes isn't a special player. He will always be in the MVP conversation. Hopefully we don't take him for granted because of his skill set. But Aaron Rodgers has done more with less than any quarterback, arguably, in his tenure with this Green Bay Packer team. And so every single year, if you take him away, we're not even talking about the Green Bay Packers. They're not in playoff discussion, and that's what an MVP player is. Now, as far as his legacy, I believe he wants the Lombardi trophies. He wants to add to that one that he already does have. When you think about the Green Bay, Brett Favre, who he took over for, Brett Favre got the Green Bay Packers to 2. He won 1, but he at least appeared in 2. Aaron Rodgers is seeking that more than the individual MVP conversations and the MVP trophies and awards. But we can talk about the team in their totality and possibly losing David Bakhtiari. That is what big. MVPs, that's when your MVP has to be just that. He has to be special, because if he doesn't have that guy on his blind side protecting him, we know Aaron Rodgers is one of one that could really eliminate that from being an issue moving forward. And Mike, I will bounce back on you on this. You said that the Green Bay Packers are going to destroy the Bears. And don't get me wrong, I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree. This Chicago Bears team is looking pretty good, and Mitchell Trubisky is playing a different style of game. I'm not saying that they win, but I like what I see out of the Chicago Bears. And this weekend, it has no bearings on the MVP conversation because of what Patrick Mahomes has not done over the last few weeks.
Greg, you know what I like about this game this weekend is the fact that Mitchell Trubisky has to show up. Like, he's going to play against the Green Bay Packers team who's fighting for the #1 seed, so he's going to get Green Bay's best. So I can't wait to see how Mitch responds. But the one thing I do like in terms of what you said was Aaron Rodgers getting that second ring. I think his legacy gets cemented with another ring. The MVPs and all the good stuff, the Pro Bowls, it's all good. I mean, when you look at it on paper, it matches his play. His play has been flawless, for every year of his career. But to host that second trophy, I think will put Aaron Rodgers in the lineage with the all-time greats, just like you said, LeVar, and put him, right where he needed to be as far as legacy, man, because, it's all right there for him. It's staring him right in the face, and I think it's a line this year where he might have to beat one team that might be the New Orleans Saints to get that chip.
It's interesting because they're sitting Pat Mahomes because they have the #1 seed locked up. So you already look at it as, well, they got the #1 seed locked up, but if they felt as though him playing could get him that MVP award, I wonder if they would have still played him. So I almost look at it like, hey, they conceded the fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to get it as well.
Right.
But I like to look at it also from a holistic standpoint as you guys are attacking it as well. You look at this running game. And I know we're saying, Bakhtiari's gone down with the injury. I get that. God bless. Hope you feel better. Get back right. But this running game has shown to be a superior running game with multiple backs doing so. Aaron Jones, to me, right now, is just as dynamic, if not the most dynamic running back in the game outside of Alvin Kamara and Cook, right? So then you look at Dillon comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. That was a shocker.
He comes out of nowhere. It's like, where's this kid? He's going to mess up Aaron Jones' money. Because how you going to ask for money when you got that situation? Then you start looking at how Devontae Adams is playing and how well he uses his feet and how he was looking like he had like those all-terrain vehicle shoes and treads on. Like, how are you making people miss you, and how are you not slipping out there on the field? I'm looking at this supporting cast of Aaron Rodgers, and I'm saying to myself, it's pretty scary going into this last week of the season with them, because what's taking place right now is you're seeing a level of arrogance and confidence. And I call this type of arrogance, it's like superiority arrogance. It's not the kind that you look and you don't like them and it's like, I hope they lose. You're looking at the arrogance of this team like, you counted me out. That's why everybody was looking at the draft saying, okay, they bring in Jordan Love. You're counting me out because of this draft pick. All right, you're counting us out because you don't think that there's this great supporting cast around Aaron Rodgers. You're looking at this Green Bay Packers team and you're saying, I feel like they should be good and they might be good, but I don't know. Yeah, the same team that's one game away from playing in the Super Bowl a year ago with a new head coach. I tell you what, I'm looking at the confidence level of these guys, the supporting cast of these guys, and I'm excited about how dangerous this team looks, but ultimately how much it plays a part and why Aaron Rodgers has so much success on his way to his third MVP crown.
Yeah, G, what do you think this team has to do to get over the hump? I mean, I know this is your former squad, and I know you got a lot of love for them, but if you can pinpoint one thing, what would it be?
For me, it's just win in the playoffs when it matters, period. Like, they've checked every box. Regular season, last year they go 13-3. They take their show on the road and get beat by a superior 49ers team and really beat up physically. Yeah. And so, LeVar, you talked about it right out the gate. We all thought this past week, that the Titans were going to brutally, physically outduel the Green Bay Packers, and they didn't. And now that they didn't, it's like, oh my goodness, wait a minute, this team is for real, for real. Mm-hmm. And I'll add this, and then I'll be done. The number one thing that's impressed me more than all the stats and numbers that Aaron has put up this year is his ability to buy in and commit to what Matt LaFleur has brought to the table and their understanding of what each other means and their value. That means so much when you look at this team and what's behind them and what they have on this roster to literally buy in and afford them an opportunity to be in the Super Bowl conversation. It was all about Aaron Rodgers. Would he allow his arrogance to be the other way on the opposite end, or would he allow his ego and his pride to be something that would benefit them and it be dressed a certain way like it's been this year? And that's been the number one telltale for me of why he's been so successful this year and why this team looks so good right now going into the playoff.
Thanks.
Yeah, Greg, I think you nailed it there. This team is for real, and I think that this third MVP would mean everything.
So you're agreeing with Greg again?
I am.
Alex,
you know what?
I guess 2 segments in a row you're agreeing with.
Right now, it's happened. It's okay.
I see what's going on.
We'll see how it goes during the rest of the show, but let's move on. Josh Allen and the Bills have made noise in the AFC this season. They are currently the 2 seed behind the Chiefs, who they lost to by 9 points in Week 6. Now, since that loss, Buffalo has gone 8-1 heading into this week, and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs' connection looks to be unstoppable. So, Mike, are the Bills a real threat to the Chiefs?
Yeah, they're a real contender on both sides of the ball, and I think just Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, that connection clicking right now. When you're clicking like that, you can beat anybody. You can destroy any defense. I don't care what coverage they in or what type of looks they present. You can find ways to manipulate the defense, and Stephon Diggs is just a game changer. Josh Allen, things he's been able to do as far as mobility in the pocket, outside of the pocket, has made him what he is, and that's a premier player and a Pro Bowler in the National Football League. So while I think the team has a lot to clean up on the defensive side of the ball, they got better as the season has progressed. You know, they still need some work, but, you know, they can be a threat to Kansas City or the Pittsburgh Steelers or however it may align. You know, it's just all about who knows who better. You know, Sean McDermott was with us in Philadelphia in 2009 and 2010, and we practiced against him every day. So if they happen to face the Chiefs, it's about who knows who better, who can scheme who and be, you know, better at it. So, you know, it's all about how things align for this team. Definitely poised in position to put themselves where, you know, they can compete, you know, in the AFC Championship game, and it all starts with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
It does. It does. This offense is going to carry this Buffalo Bills team if they are to have success in the playoff run. You look at Josh Allen. A lot of people talked about Josh is more of an athlete than he is a quarterback. And we all know quarterbacks have to win games in the playoffs. Your defense have to complement you. Your running game, your passing game, everything else has to complement the play of that quarterback. So when you look at Josh Allen and the way he came into this season, we've talked about guys that missed the boat or missed the bus on being pure professionals.
Yeah.
And we talked about that earlier in the show when we discussed the Washington football team. Well, take a look at this guy and you say to yourself, man, Josh Allen comes into this season, he goes and he becomes third in yards passing. He becomes third amongst QBs to rush for TDs. He becomes fifth in getting TDs and fifth with his passer rating and his QB rating, excuse me. And I tend to think it's like, where did this come from with Josh Allen? Because we thought he was more of an athlete than he was a passer. Then you take a look at what he did this offseason. He didn't let COVID take him out of his rhythm. He got with a guy. He got with the technology. He worked on his release. He worked on the mechanics of how he threw the ball and did it in such a small, detailed manner of the mechanics of how he could become a more effective thrower with the strength of his arm. That leadership, that willingness to really, really focus in on improving yourself was a tremendous change.
Yeah.
Throw in Stephon Diggs, who everybody thought was going to be a headache. This guy is not going to come in. He could be a cancer to the locker room. And lo and behold, he's not only not a cancer, he's a catalyst.
Yep.
And he turns into a leader for this team.
Yep.
He turns into a belief beacon for this team. You deliver the ball to him. He's showing you what he can do week in and week out. And I look at this Buffalo team and I say, they have a very, very scary look to them, like the Buffalo Bills of old. Not the same type of defense. They play complementary style, not as dominant as those Bruce Smith led and Daryl Talley and Cornelius Bennett led defenses back in the day. But this offense is pretty impressive, and I don't see them slowing down. I think they're the most dangerous team in the AFC outside of course, the Kansas City
along with
Chiefs.
Baltimore.
Yeah. Oh, they might not get in.
Along with Baltimore.
You putting them in?
I agree with both of you. I think this Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills team can upset the Chiefs, but I'm going to go from a different perspective and look from a different lens. From the Chiefs' side, you got a 14-1 football team that's kind of crippling or limping into the playoffs. They don't look as sharp. And when I say limp for them, it's not a limp for most teams, but it doesn't look as well-oiled as we have come to know and what we've seen over the course of this Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid's run and tenure. And that concerns me. That concerns me. When you sit your quarterback and he hasn't played very well. Last week, he missed a lot of throws. It just didn't look like the Patrick Mahomes that we have come to know. And so going into the playoffs, I remember being a part of a team that was 15-1 coming off a Super Bowl win. And that 10-6 year when we won the Super Bowl, we were hungry. We wanted it more. There was nothing that a team could do to deny us from winning that Super Bowl. We took our show on the road. Vic, you know, you were a part of that. And so it didn't matter. There was
you always find a way to rub that in.
There was a desire. I hit it real quick. There was a desire. There was a goal. We were chasing something. We weren't defending anything. We were going to take it. Right now, the Chiefs are in another position of where we were when we ended up 15-1 the year after we won the Super Bowl, where now we're defending our turf. We're trying to fend off these guys who are hunting us now. And because of the bye, we weren't hunting. The Buffalo Bills are hunting. They don't care about the Chiefs. They don't care about them winning the Super Bowl. They don't care about Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. They don't care about none of that because they feel like they got that and more. When you talk about Stephon Diggs, who literally talked his way out of Minnesota because he felt like he needed more opportunities. He needed more targets. He needed the ball more. Yeah. And it's shown to be the right choice. And it's benefited this Buffalo team. And so when I look at the type of fearlessness that they play with, and it starts with Josh Allen, and it starts actually with Sean McDermott, and then Josh Allen, and those guys carrying that kind of domino effect of their head coach. This team is scary. I don't care who they play, they are going to be a tough out.
When you look at Buffalo losses, though, I mean, 3 losses, but the losses shouldn't have been losses. It hasn't been a team that has definitively beat this team. They lost on Tuesday night against Tennessee, a short week against Kansas City, and then the Hail Mary from Kyler Murray, which was, lucky play, but anything can happen in the National Football League. So, no team has really beat this team. They've beaten everybody, and they've done it convincingly, and it's because of Josh Allen and the Stephon Diggs connection. I can't leave out Devin Singletary or Cole Beasley. It's a lot of guys that's playing a factor in terms of them winning week in and week out. And, they've been fun to watch. And like you said, Greg, they are hunting. They're going after that chip. And it's easy to fly under the radar when the expectations aren't extremely high, like the Kansas City Chiefs and teams like that who got targets on their back every week. But I like this Buffalo team, man, and I think they can go far. I mean, it all starts with Josh Allen. And can he continue to be poised, through this playoff run?
There's a lot of tables in pain in Buffalo, New York, Mike Vick. There's a lot of ketchup and mustard containers empty in Buffalo, New York, people. I'm telling you right now, the Bills Mafia, it's alive.
Oh, yeah.
The winning in Buffalo, it's alive. And I'm not trying to sound like a hype man for the Buffalo Bills.
You do.
But I am, because they're really good. And you should be watching them because they're a pretty entertaining group and outfit to watch.
God, better be happy them fans not in the stands. It'd really be a tough place to play. Buffalo.
LeVar, you're right. They are fun to watch. And as you guys know, anything can happen in the playoffs. Anything can happen.
Yep. That's where it happens.
It's crazy.
No mercy. Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy. The final Sunday of the regular season kicks off with the Cowboys in a must-win game against the Giants. Then the Bears try to win their way into the playoffs against a Packers squad gunning for the top seed in the NFC. For other regional action, check your local listings for the games in your area only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Tua Tagovailoa was benched again last week for Ryan Fitzpatrick after Tua was 17 of 22 for only 94 yards against the Raiders. Fitzpatrick didn't disappoint, going 9 of 13 for 182 yards and a touchdown, and he set up Miami for the game-winning field goal. But yesterday, Fitzpatrick tested positive for COVID-19 and will miss their game Sunday. But before that, Brian Flores has already said that despite the benching, Tua was going to start Week 17. So, LeVar, do you think the Dolphins are sold on Tua as their quarterback long-term?
Of course they're sold on Tua as their quarterback. But here's the thing. The reason why we're having this conversation, Mike and Alex and Greg, is very clear, right? You have played Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Ryan Fitzpatrick has had success. He came in relief duty, had success. But you look at Tua, he's 6-2 as the starter for this team. I think this is more so a conversation about Flores creating that environment of competition. Man. I think this is pretty unique in itself because you look at quarterbacks and you say, once you make the switch, then you maintain the switch. And that's kind of how we've grown to learn and understand the position itself. But Flores did something very interesting. It's compete. I didn't need to play him early on. I had to play him early on. I took a chance. I put him in. But he's convinced this team that they got to compete first. So when they take him out, it's not because you don't believe in Tua. It's because you want to win.
Right.
So our environment right now is purely we want to win. I believe Tua is the long-term key for them, the long-term decision or long-term guy for them at that position. But I also look at it from the standpoint of he's got a lot to learn as a rookie. And then learning as a rookie, he's also being put in a position where, like our early conversation, and you get a first-round quarterback that doesn't necessarily buy into the fact that being a first-rounder means you still got to go out there and show and prove. Yeah. He's keeping Tua honest, and he's keeping Tua hungry, as Greg mentioned earlier. As long as he stays hungry and motivated, he'll turn into that veteran savvy quarterback before long.
You know, I think, LeVar, you said it. I mean, 6-2 as a starter. And in this league, it's all about winning. And it hasn't been pretty for Tua. You know, you don't see deep passes down the yard. You don't see him breaking long runs. And it's in part to a lot of different things. He had an injury, you know, last year, significant injury that he had to come back from. And that's tough. The hip injuries are some of the worst injuries to bounce back from. He did it. In terms of, you know, no off-season strength and conditioning program, no off-season training, no OTAs. I said we're going to say this multiple times in the show, especially about young QBs. And, you know, a lot of those things can be overlooked. So when you have a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick for Brian Flores, and you can look to the sideline and say, I got me a relief pitcher right here that we can put in the game and salvage the game if need be, then I'm going to go to that guy, especially while Tua's a rookie. Now, come 2021, say this again, it won't be none of that. Trial and error for Tua. You put him out there, you let him work. You let him go through the growing pains. You let him grow up. You let him lose the tough ones, and you let him win the big ones. So he'll get the praise, you know, when he does well. He'll get the scrutiny when he doesn't. And that's a part of growing up. But as of right now, you know, I don't mind what they're doing with Fitzpatrick. It is Brian Flores' plan. It's his plan ultimately. And he wanted to make the playoffs. He wanted to show the organization.
It's worked.
Look, we can get it done however we want to do it. And once he get that right guy with that defense, lights out. Good luck.
LeVar, you hit the nail on the head. Brian Flores is solely about winning, period. And whatever quarterback gives him the best opportunity to win, that's who he's going to go with. And I love that approach. I mean, you literally said it. Like a lot of what we've come to know has been quarterbacks. Just once they are inserted in that starting position,
you've got to be the guy. Right.
But that's not done with any other position on the football field. You have an opportunity to compete every single day. You at linebacker, me at wide receiver, like running backs, they compete for those carries, that opportunity to get on that field. And when you create that environment across the board, it has a guy ready to play. The one thing I will say, and I do believe Tua is their long-term answer. Right now, I don't think he's ready. I just don't. It's visible when you look at how he plays the game. He plays the game at a pace to where you can't sustain that type of success. What I mean by that is he doesn't throw the ball down the field. There are no chunk plays when it comes to watching Tua Tagovailoa play this game. And in order to put points on the board, when you strike hot, in order to be a successful offense, Michael Vick, you got to be able to push the ball down the field to soften up that secondary. And that's something that he has not shown that he can do on a consistent basis. And you talk about trying to fight for your playoff life against a team in Buffalo that could potentially keep you out. Like, you have to push the ball down the field on these teams going into the playoffs. Teams, if they do make the playoffs, and we see Tua, and this is the guy, and you don't have Ryan Fitzpatrick coming out the following week, will you be willing to push the envelope? Will you be willing to throw the ball down the field and take chances? And we know he doesn't turn the ball over. That is a plus. But you have to take chances. You have to allow your mind to be free and not think about throwing an interception or incompletions down the field, and just understand in the grand scheme of things of how you want to run offenses and what you want defenses to do and prepare for, you have to show them that you are willing to push the ball down the field, and he just hasn't done that.
I mean, you think back to Tua's college career and what he was able to do. I mean, he was remarkable. You said, Greg, decision-making, accuracy, the ability to run the offense smoothly, step in as a young guy. I mean, he got the intangibles to go next level. You know, it's just about him getting the reps. And the more adequate reps that he get, the better he's going to be as a player. You just got to have some patience with him. And imagine Tua in a year or two with some weapons around him. You know, they got Devontae Parker and they got some other guys that's filling in. But when he get the right situation, yeah, I think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league, definitely top 10. And I'm not being biased because he's a lefty. I like the fact that he's a lefty. But, you know, everything is going to have to fall in line for him, and it's going to be up to Brian Flores and the personnel department to surround him with the right people, the right players, so they can get the most out of their young quarterback.
He's super coachable, and it's just going to have to come down to developing the trust because, like what Greg is talking about, I think the reason why he does what he does is because that's what he's told to do.
Yeah.
I can recall Bill Parcells standing on the yard line where he wanted his young quarterbacks to throw. As a defender, we used to know where he stood on the yard line where he wanted the ball thrown. That was the lack of trust that he had in his quarterback. So he's like, you see me, this is where you throw the ball. And I think, you know, same coaching tree, right?
Yeah.
Same coaching tree.
Yeah.
Flores comes from the Belichick coaching tree, and that's from the Bill Parcells coaching tree. So I think pushing the ball downfield is something that's going to come with the trust. And I don't think that Tua is going to violate that trust or that order that's being given to him as to where to deliver that ball. But in time, he'll be that guy.
Who's the offensive coordinator? Chan Gailey?
Chan Gailey.
I mean, he has enough experience. I think, you know, for the coaches, the players that he's coached, Ryan Fitzpatrick and a ton of other guys, they've all had success. You got to let it go. You got to let him spin.
Yes.
Let that man spin. You know what it's like, man. Let him throw it down the yard. Let him put it in the air, take chances. That's the way you're going to beat the Buffalo Bills football team on this Sunday.
I agree, until somebody pick them off.
Now, I've said it on this show before. I am a huge Tua fan.
Did you see how Alex just picked it off?
Yeah, Alex picked this off.
That's a pick-off, Alex.
She saved you.
However,
Yeah, she did.
as all of you guys mentioned, he does need the reps, and I think it is going to hurt them not having Fitzpatrick this weekend.
No mercy.
Baker Mayfield and the Browns can clinch the playoffs on Sunday if they get a win against the Steelers. If they can't pull out the win, then they'll need some help to get into the postseason. The Steelers will be without Big Ben, Cam Hayward, and TJ Watt, who will all be resting for the already clinched playoff berth. So, Greg, do you trust Baker to lead the Browns into the playoffs against the undermanned Steelers?
Of course. Yes, I trust Baker Mayfield. He's done a terrific job all season. And it's been large in part because of the head coach, Kevin Stefanski, and play caller. And he's put him in successful situations. And I believe he'll do so moving forward into this Week 17 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's not act as though Baker Mayfield is going to have to do what he tried to do last week, which is throw the ball 50-plus times. That is not a key to the success of the Browns nor Baker Mayfield. That is not where he thrives. He turns around, hands the ball off to Nick Chubb and others and Kareem Hunt and allow them to establish their identity, which is running the football. And against the Pittsburgh Steelers team, who's kind of crippling and hobbling into the playoffs themselves, you have to establish the run. You have to impose your will. And Baker Mayfield, yes, is he the guy to get it done? I do believe so. He hasn't been turning the ball over. His interceptions are down. He's fumbled as of late. But if he can just not turn the ball over and he can use his cadence, Vic, I wanted to ask you this. I'm glad we're talking about it. Why do we not see Baker Mayfield take advantage of his cadence? Because I feel like when teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers he plays against, they have an opportunity to disguise their coverages And that's where he finds himself in trouble. And if he uses his cadence or tempo, getting to the line of scrimmage, getting off snaps quick, he doesn't allow those teams to do that. Why do you think that is?
Double count. He need to do more double count, make the defense declare so he can see exactly what's happening. That'll help him with his pre-snap read. But, Greg, I tell you this. If Baker Mayfield don't win this game this weekend, there's going to be some smoke in the city. We got Big Ben out, Pouncey, T.J. Watt, and Cam Hayward. Bruh, I can come out this chair and win that game. I promise you.
We did pros versus Joes.
And win that game. Look, it's no excuse for Baker Mayfield this weekend. I feel like I find myself, 3 or 4 times every year saying that this is a must-win game for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield got to win this game. But this one right here, this is a game of huge magnitude, of epic proportions for him. He needs to win this one. His receivers was out last week. He had to throw it 50 times, like you said, Greg. That's not the recipe for Baker Mayfield. It's turn around. It's handed off to Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. If they do that, that's where their success lies. If they don't do that, continuously this game and find a way to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't care what it takes, and it's all going to start with Baker, then I'm going to be super upset. And I know the Cleveland Browns fan base is going to be upset with Baker Mayfield and everyone. This is a must-win game for Baker.
I feel like the Cleveland Browns will have let him down if they don't win this game. I think there's a lot of pressure on Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's only consistency that I've seen so far this year has been inconsistent. And that's it. And I say that with love. I mean, I look at this Cleveland team and I think to myself, it's interesting that with all the talent that has been amassed on this team, and getting your running attack off the ground, which was the catalyst, by the way, of this team starting to have success to begin with, we're putting this on Baker Mayfield's shoulders. A toothless Steelers team coming into the game. They're going to be using all gums to bite. Nothing's going to hurt. But you got to win. They're going to be gnawing that. You got to win the game. And if you don't win the game, it falls purely at the feet of Baker Mayfield. I don't know that that's fair, but the setup of it is certainly there. And Baker, if you're watching this show, going into your practice today, make sure you let yourself know in the mirror. Don't change your mustache and the beard and all that. Don't give me 3 different looks. Commit to who you're going to be in this game, and make sure your teammates know who you're going to be in this game and who they're going to be identity-wise going into this game. Because, Mike, here's the thing. We're talking about a Steelers team that is resting their guys, but we're also talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are the big brother to pretty much every single team other than the Baltimore Ravens in that AFC North division. So don't think for 2 seconds because Big Ben is resting that this is going to be one of those let's get through it type of deals. It's a door prize type of game. You'll mess around and you'll get hit in your mouth and you'll be down early and everybody will be sitting there wondering, why is this happening to Baker Mayfield, not the Browns? I look at this as this is a must-win for Baker Mayfield, reputationally speaking. But reality, this is a must-win game for you, Stefanski, for you, Cleveland. It's a must-win for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, Stefanski got some time, but I like Greg said, Baker Mayfield, the maturation process right now has to show up, the double counts, getting the team in the right formations, getting them in the right checks. All that's going to be on display. And he's going to have to go out and outdo Mason Rudolph, who's going to be trying to prove that he's the long-term solution to replace Ben Roethlisberger in years to come whenever Big Ben decides to hang it up. So it's a lot hanging in the balance for Baker Mayfield.
And who's to say that Mason, if he doesn't play well, if he plays well, we've looked at how Ben has played in that 3-game skid, and a lot of people were like, hey, let's try Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
So the conversation has already ensued anyway. So Mason, whether Mason gets that gig or not, why not put yourself in a favorable position that leash is shorter in the playoffs for someone like Ben, because you have the confidence in what you saw him do in a critical must-win game for Cleveland to get into the playoffs. This is much like a playoff game.
It'll be so good to see the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. I tell you, for as long as it's been, for them to have a chance to get in position where they are competing in the playoffs, man. It's something we haven't seen from them in a long time, and they should be excited about this moment and this opportunity. They shouldn't let it slip by.
You better hope so.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Baker and the Browns have to win this game, especially since they're getting a good chunk of their receivers back. And as LeVar mentioned, they are playing a toothless Steelers team. But let's move on to the Chargers, because rookie quarterback Justin Herbert has become an overwhelming favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Herbert has already set the rookie record for passing touchdowns at 28 through only 14 starts, overshadowing the hot start Joe Burrow had before he went out for the season with a knee injury. So, Mike, will Herbert have a better career than Joe Burrow?
Yeah, I think Herbert will, man. The ultimate dual threat. He got the big-time arm. He can run with the football. It's nothing that this kid hasn't shown us that he can't do behind the center. And while he'll have more starts by the time Joe Burrow comes back, I think he'll have 30-plus starts, because we don't know when Joe is going to return. And hopefully, he gets himself back into full health and full form and come back ready to compete. But by the time he come back, he's only going to have 10 starts under his belt, and Justin Herbert will have about 30. So that's learning on the job. I thought he stepped in this year and did a tremendous job for his team. A lot of close games, some games that they should have won. But, for him to kind of put it all together and show that he have a complete understanding of the offense and what needs to be done, I like what this team can do moving forward. Anthony Lynn is a great play caller. I think he's a great coach. He understands the run game. Been around Greg Norman for years, when he was in Buffalo. So I think the right personnel, once again, the situation like Tua, you put the right pieces around him, he can grow. And he has the arm to do it. Keenan Allen and a bunch of other guys that he can distribute the ball to, add some free agents, add some guys in the offseason, and you got a quarterback with some weapons and can compete. So I like what LA is doing with him. I like the pick. They got to be happy about it. The biggest thing in the National Football League is finding a quarterback. And when you got a rookie that's played well and you can look 10 years from now and say, this is going to be our guy, you got to feel fortunate.
I'm not so sure that he's going to have a better career than Joe Burrow. I like T. Higgins. He's actually one of those bright spots in Cincinnati at the receiver's position where you could see that connection forming before the injury took place. Yeah. That Cincinnati Bengals team is a team that's actually trending up if you take a good, hard look at personnel-wise, what they've been able to put together. You look at the rest of the class, CeeDee Lamb came on and has played lights out as a rookie. You look at James Robinson, he's played well as a running back in Jacksonville. Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, even though the team hasn't done well, he's played well. But Justin Herbert has played at the highest level of any rookie coming into where we are right now. So I do look at him as a lock for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. But with that being said, as well as I've seen him do, when I've looked at both of these quarterbacks, Justin Herbert plays with a little bit more perceived maturity than what I see in Joe Burrow. But that's not to say that
he's got a little more talent around him.
Yeah, he's got a little. Yeah. That's not to say that when I look at Joe Burrow, if he can, all things given, health-wise, if he can come back and be as healthy as he was or stronger, I still think that the skill set and the talent level that I saw play out with him this season really gives me pause to actually say definitively that Justin Herbert is going to have the better career. For two reasons, and two reasons alone. One, I don't know that I fully trust what's going on with the LA Chargers, for one.
That makes sense.
All right. Two, when I look at the Bengals, I think to myself, there may be the possibilities that what they're building there will be more time for that scenario to play out in Cincinnati rather than in a major market like LA for the Chargers. I don't know how much that can disrupt Justin Herbert, but you and I both know coaching changes disrupt. If Lynn loses his job, here comes someone new. How does that work? How's the chemistry? Does it work? This young man, young stage of his career, every single thing matters. I had 4 head coaches 3 years into my career when I first came into the NFL.
Tough.
It is very difficult to deal with coaching changes, and that could be the very reason why we see Joe Burrow be able to leapfrog and get ahead of Justin Herbert in the future.
I think we'll be talking about both of these quarterbacks for a long time into their careers. However, with a healthy Joe Burrow, give me Joe Burrow any day of the week. I just like everything that he brings, his moxie, his leadership, his approach to the game, his arrogance, that arrogance that you talked about earlier, LeVar, when we talk about the Green Bay Packers. Joe Burrow carries a lot of that. His ability to just get guys to buy in and believe in him. You think about just his stance, even with the social justice and injustices that were going on, and his ability to just have that assertiveness and that comfort to just speak out and galvanize that team without having met so many of those players. They love this guy in Cincinnati, and I just think that if he can stay healthy, the ceiling for him is so high. And I'm not saying it's not for Justin Herbert. I think he's a tremendous quarterback, and he will win the Offensive Rookie of the Year this year, and he's deserving of it. And I think he's going to have a fantastic career. But Joe Burrow, you alluded to something in Cincinnati. They're not as far off as people think. Not. Like, personnel-wise, they have players. They have guys that they're trying to surround him with. They're going to protect him up front, hopefully, in this draft. But you look at T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, you have an elder statesman in A.J. Green that may be on the way out. We'll see. But they have pieces around him at the running back position, at the receiver position. I like their head coach, young-minded guy who understands what he has in Joe Burrow, and will allow him to flourish, will put him in positions of success. That's what we saw before the injury. When we look at both of these guys, 9-10 games into the season, they were neck and neck. I mean, and some would say Joe Burrow was doing more with less because he was in Cincinnati, a dumpster fire, if you will, where quarterbacks go to die. And he's done so much positive to where we believe this team is going to have so much life because of his ability. I just like all that he brings, his ability to get out the pocket, his accuracy, his down the field accuracy. He's a special, special talent. They both are, but give me Joe Burrow long term.
You know, that's what scares me about the Cincinnati Bengals organization. You know, you talking about you got the first round pick in Joe Burrow, and can you build around him? You know, they had Andy Dalton for several years who showed promise, and I felt like the team was on the cusp of greatness. They was competing. They was competing with the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, but just couldn't get over the hump, and then things just took a turn for the worse. So most importantly, like we all just said, it's about building around Joe Burrow. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have some time off because he got to get that knee right and get some confidence in it before he can get back into the fold, full throttle, feeling good about himself and playing this game, which is a dual threat type of game. And that's what I like about him. But obviously, you know, not gaining that experience, he's going to miss, once again, OTAs, training camp. It's going to be a tough year for him. But, you know, he has to fight it and to come back from it.
Yeah, so does Alex.
Shot.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
you got the ability to come back, Alex. Come on.
I always come back. Well, why was I down? I've been on top. Come on.
True. Yeah.
All right, Greg. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we're looking forward to hearing you call the Falcons and Bucs on Sunday on Fox. So, congrats.
No mercy.
We will finally be able to crown the NFC East winner this Sunday. Washington can steal the division with a win over Philadelphia. However, if they lose, then it will be the winner of the Cowboys and Giants game. That will be playoff bound. We are now joined by Antonio Cromartie. Happy New Year, Crow. How will the NFC
New Year
play out this Sunday?
To
taking Dallas Cowboys.
What?
And I say that because I think right now they have a chance. They have a little momentum. I think Andy Dalton's playing a lot better. They actually found a run game, and it's not coming from not really coming from Ezekiel. The big plays are coming from Pollard. So I'm looking for them to win. I think, with everything that's going on in Washington, I don't think it's still the distraction that's going on there. We don't know how healthy Alex Smith is, and I think Jalen Hurts can put them out.
Wow.
Well, right now, all indications looking like Alex Smith going to play, so I got to say that the Washington football team will be in the playoffs, especially if he's out in the field. It's what they brought him there for. They brought him there to win games like this and win games in the regular season and possibly get into the playoffs and compete. So, I feel like for all they've gone through, man, Ron Rivera, Alex, it's a storybook ending for these guys, and I wouldn't want anything more than to see them have an opportunity to, play for a championship, and while they have all of the right pieces and components with the defensive line and the offense playing a lot better, I think it all lies in the hands of Alex Smith. And even if Taylor Heineke plays, I still think they got a shot because Fletcher Cox won't be on the field, and that's the biggest caveat. So, if I'm a quarterback in this game and there's no Fletcher Cox, then I know that pocket's going to be clean. I can sit in the pocket and I can work. I keep my eyes downfield. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they kind of distraught right now. They got a lot going on, within their organization as well. So, I think they're poised, to win this game this Sunday. And if they do, all hail to the football team.
I could run down the stat lines of why certain teams will win, why Washington is the better team than the Philadelphia Eagles, why the Giants would be in contention actually. Right. But this is the NFC East. These are all teams that are familiar with one another, and we all know interdivisional games are always. They're all familiar with one another, so all the stats go out the door. Now, I will say this. Looking at Washington's team, I don't look at it as a confused state. I don't look at it as a turbulent place. We watched what happened with Dwayne Haskins this past week, and we could all sit here and say, here we go again with the Washington football team. Here it is. They're going to self-destruct. Here it is, self-sabotage. That's not the case here. That is not the case. There is a difference. There is not confusion. This was confusion being put to bed, Crow. Think about it. Ron Rivera said, this is what we needed you to do. You didn't do it. So you go out there based upon injury after you've been stripped of being a captain because you've been irresponsible with your leadership role, and you don't play well. We lose the game and you leave. You don't even face the media. Well, in years past, the confusion would have been, let him go. Just keep it moving. Let's try to get through the season. No. He got bodied, Crow. Ron bodied him. And so now everybody's on notice. This is not about there being confusion. This is about y'all better focus in. You better dial in.
100%.
For those who are ready to go get it, y'all gonna go get it. For those of you were thinking you might or maybe not, this is Washington. No, you better dial in. It's time to lock and load. And that's why I think that this Washington team has the best chance of coming out this weekend as the lone NFC East team and champ going into the playoffs.
Yeah, they got a shot.
Well, I say they don't. That's just because I'm just looking at Alex Smith and how he's played going into the playoffs or how he played in the playoffs. I mean, you got to think, Alex Smith's been blown out in the playoffs every single time he's gone to the playoffs or even tried to get into the playoffs. You can look at the NFC game against the Giants in the NFC Championship game. You can go to the Colts game when they had a 20-some point lead and blew that whole entire lead. And he had a defense then. He had the pass rushers then. So what's making it different now? And it's the same kind of offense that he's been running. I think he's a little more comfortable. But at the end of the day, I'm taking the Cowboys just because of the gelling they're starting to do the last 3 weeks and the way they've been playing. And they found a running game with Zeke and also with Pollard. And Andy Dalton's getting a little more comfortable. And he's found a star receiver in Gallup that's going to create separation. If you try to double somebody else, someone else is going to be open on the back end. So, I mean, I look at it from that standpoint. And while I'm picking Dallas, and I'm just looking at the history of Alex Smith playing in games that's meaningful. and that means something to get him somewhere into the next division.
Hey, Crow, crazier things can't have happened. You know, the football team can lose this game. They can lose, and then Dallas can beat the Giants and get in. And if that happens, I'm going to give all the credit to Mike McCarthy because everybody wrote him off. They wanted him fired. Mike McCarthy got to go. He's washed up. That man got a Super Bowl ring.
Yes, he does.
He know what he's doing.
Yes, he does.
He got Andy Dalton playing some of his best football, and Dak was playing some of his best football as well. So, you know, why I think if they don't make it, 2021 to serve this team well, especially when they get all the right pieces together, especially when they have some time to gel, and if Mike McCarthy take over the play calling next year over Kellen Moore.
I got to be honest. I said I wasn't going to use any stats, but I lied. All right? That's my honesty.
I'm a stat
and
man.
the only reason why I'm going to do it is because my man Crow asked, well, what's so different? What's so different? Well,
give it to me.
Let's think about this with Jalen Hurts since he's become the starter, all right? 20th in points scored. 20th. That leaves only 12 teams away from the worst. 21st, right? 21st in yards allowed for this defense. 22nd in points allowed for this Philly defense, and they're tied for 24th in takeaways. So if you're going to have one aspect struggling and suffering on your team, you had better be able to pick it up in other aspects. The Philadelphia Eagles got away with their one, and that was Jalen Hurts' first game. They got away with it in New Orleans, but they have not been able to since get away with it. And I look at where they are statistically speaking, there is nothing about Philly that says to me that they can find a way to pick up the slack either on defense or on offense, even with the boost that they originally got from Jalen Hurts. I'm a Jalen Hurts fan, but in this scenario, I think this game is too big, and that's what's different, if you ask me, about Alex Smith being in this scenario to qualify and win the NFC East.
Man, if Alex Smith was the starter at the beginning of the season, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. The football team will already be in. Dallas will be out. The NFC East will be already over with. But, you know, it's good football. It's good for the National Football League. It's good for the NFC East. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be a photo finish. I don't know what you think about that, Crow, but I can't wait to see it.
Crow ride.
I can't wait to see it neither.
Crow ride with Dallas, boy. Somebody got to Crow, boy. Who got to call up?
No, I just watched the last 3 weeks.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, speaking of last 2 weeks, I've watched Alex do TV the last 2 weeks, and she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, as I said before, it's Washington's weekend, right?
It's Washington's weekend.
It's Washington's weekend. It would be an incredible story, not only for the team, but Ron Rivera, and then obviously the comeback of Alex Smith. So
I'm buying that.
It's all them this weekend. It's all in their hands.
It's in their hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
But we're moving on to the Bucs. No mercy. Saturday on Fox, All-American Marcus Zagorowski and number 11 Creighton battle Providence. That's Saturday at noon Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Now, Tom Brady has already ended the Buccaneers' playoff drought and also set the team record for passing touchdowns in a single season through only 15 games. Bruce Arians has higher expectations for Brady beyond just the regular season, though. Earlier this week, Arians said it's Super Bowl or bust for his team. So, LeVar, does Tom Brady need a Lombardi trophy to justify the move to Tampa?
Let me just make sure I clear this up for everybody, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, this is very interesting. Bruce Arians says it's Super Bowl or bust for Tampa Bay. But the question, people, is it justified, the move to bring in Tom Brady without getting a Lombardi trophy? Yeah. And the answer is absolutely yes. It is justified. You know why? Let's talk about why. The Bucs versus the Patriots. Because if we're going to justify Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay, then I would say the reasoning has to be soundly rooted in reasoning of what is he as a Patriot and what are the Patriots versus what is he as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Just real quick, all right? The Bucs and the Pats, all right? Points this year. The Bucs ranked 5th, while the Patriots ranked 28th. All right? The Bucs ranked 11th in yards per game, while the Patriots ranked 29th. The passing yards. Your quarterback, he throws the ball. Passing yards. The Bucs ranked 3rd, while the Patriots ranked 30th. So if I'm looking at what the Patriots are without Tom Brady and what the Bucs are with Tom Brady, think about this. The Patriots last year, 12-4, a game away from being the second seed in the playoffs, Mike. This year, 6-9. First losing season since 2000, which 2000 was, let's see, Mike. Wow. That's the year they drafted Tom Brady in New England. So this is justified. The only way it's not justified where it's Super Bowl or bust is if the Patriots are in the Super Bowl and Tampa Bay has to win in order to justify it. Otherwise, I'm good.
Man, look, Tampa needed Tom. Tom ain't need Tampa. This goes without saying. I mean, every head coach always utter these words at the beginning of the year. We're going to win the Super Bowl. We got to win it all.
100%.
Yeah, coach, no doubt. I mean, we know that. I mean, back up. Let us get busy. I mean, like I said, Tampa needed Tom, and they just needed an upgrade at the position. Jameis, he did enough, but he didn't do what was needed to get him into the postseason. He was almost there. They was on the cusp, and Tom just came in and gave him that little oomph, that little extra push, and didn't turn it over as much as Jameis. Got more out of Tom. And now they find themselves in the postseason. So, you know, while it's always wishful thinking, yes, we want to play and compete for the Super Bowl. So it's not a bust for Tom Brady. It's all house money for him. He got 6 rings. He's just bringing some extra to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that they haven't had. Going to the playoffs, haven't been in 13 years. If they was 2-13, this would be a totally different conversation. We'll be talking totally different.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
Coach? So, I mean, look, Coach, I love you. Yeah, I like what you're doing with Tom. 2021 going to be the year. And this year is not over. They still have a chance to compete in the playoffs. So, you know, if they can knock off the Green Bay Packers or the New Orleans Saints, then, you know, they might have something.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, like you say, Tampa needed Tom Brady more than Tom Brady needed Tampa. You know, and when you look at the whole entire situation, you can look at the games and you can look at how Tom Brady played this year, but also just compare it to last year. They still throwing the ball down the field as they did. I think just Tom Brady's making smarter throws and understanding what he needs to go to better than Jameis did. And the thing about Tom Brady, what he brings into Tampa is one, he brings the Super Bowl rings. So everyone's going to want to listen. Everyone's a part of being a part of a champion that's played in this game. So everyone's going to listen. He has the reputation. Like I say, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And he's proven that at 43 years old that he can go in and go do what he needs to try to do to go win games. You know, Bruce Arians has always been this way. It's Super Bowl or bust. That's his whole thing. That's, like you said before, it's one of the things that he's always talking about at the beginning of the season. It's the goals that's set. And it's been like that when I was in Arizona with him. It's Super Bowl or bust. And that was just the end of it. You know, no matter what happened during the season, that was his whole thing. But it's just like understanding that what Tom Brady brings to the table and what he needs, far from what New England has had. He's doing a heck of a job, and he's doing what he's supposed to do. And you know, this is a big win for Tampa more so than for Tom Brady.
You know what? I mean, and I think we all can attest to this. I mean, if we're head coach though, and we walk in our locker room, we see Tom Brady. And
I'm thinking Super Bowl or bust. I'm thinking Super Bowl
Mike
or
Evans,
bust.
Gronk, Pierre Paul, Dominic. I'm thinking Super Bowl or bust too. So I gotta agree with Bruce Arians in a sense, but you know, in all actuality, when it's all said and done, and when you look at it from a realistic perspective, you got to know that you still got to go out and win these games on a weekly basis, and it all starts with the coach. So, coach, you got to coach us to win these games. We know exactly what we need to do when we get out there. We ready to compete. Our hearts are into it. But can you cook up the right game plan and put us in a position offensively and defensively, offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator?
I'm going to live with the elephant in the room, the 5,000-pound elephant. Was Tom Brady a product of the Patriot way? Sure, he was a product of the Patriot way. He was a part of building the Patriot way. But to say his success was purely based off of Bill Belichick was the whole point of, for me, this whole debate, this whole topic. Does Tom Brady need a Lombardi trophy to justify the move? That says to me, can Tom Brady win without Bill Belichick? That has already been answered. And if anything, we could say it's a push or a wash if New England is able to make it to the playoffs. Right? If we're sitting here talking like Patriots are surging, they're going to, or they're somewhere along the same lines as Tampa Bay right now. We know that even with 5,000 yards passing last year with Jameis Winston, they still have not been good enough to make it to those playoffs. And yet you bring in Tom Brady, who supposedly can't function from being outside of the Patriots organization under Bill Belichick, and comes to Tampa Bay in a COVID year and doesn't even have a real offseason and guides and leads this team to the playoffs. Y'all better stop playing with me, boy. That boy Tom Brady is the real deal.
TB12.
He's the real deal, player. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? Crow, am I wrong or am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're not. You're definitely not wrong. I mean, we just look at the whole entire situation. He's done a lot. He's done far better being in Tampa than, how the New England's doing right now with Cam. So when you look at the whole entire situation, who really was running the ship, because Tom Brady is the guy that's out there on the field every single time, making the checks, making the throws and everything else. But when you just see what he's doing and how comfortable he's gotten the last, 3 to 4 weeks, really with throwing the deep ball, because that was something that Bruce Arians was very heavy on. That's his offense, is getting the ball down the field, pushing the ball down the field. And these last couple of weeks, man, it's just, you just see something that it's starting to click for him. And that's something that gets scary with Tom Brady. Once he starts clicking, and he can hit every single element during the game and make all his reads and go down the field, man, it's scary when you get into the postseason.
Hey, Crow, I'm going to say this. If this same team is assembled next year, 2021, I'm going to be singing the same tune that Bruce Arians is singing. Super Bowl the bus for this team. I don't want to hear nothing else. Sir. Tom Brady at the helm and all the pieces surrounding them, they got what it takes.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
It's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. He's the best. It should always be Super Bowl or bust because he is the best of the best. And I know even if he's not saying it, being a top athlete, you have that exact same mentality and attitude.
100%.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
No mercy.
The final Sunday of the regular season kicks off with the Cowboys in a must-win game against the Giants. Then the Bears try to win their way into the playoffs against a Packers squad gunning for the top seed in the NFC, or other regional action. Check local listings for the games in your area only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Lamar Jackson remains winless in the playoffs after 2 trips, and his normal MVP numbers are much different in the postseason. His completion percentage is 13 points worse in the playoffs compared to the regular season, and his passer rating is 30 points worse. So, Mike, how much pressure is on Lamar to make a playoff run after 2 straight early exits?
There's some realistic pressure on Lamar Jackson, and I think Lamar knows that. I think Lamar can look at the last 3 games that he's played, and, he can kind of marvel his game after that. He's done well in the passing game. He's been a sensational passer, and he's been, the ultimate dual threat as a runner. That's going to have to be on full display. I don't think any team wants to see this Baltimore Ravens team in the playoffs, but for Lamar, after the early exits, the last 2 seasons, and it hasn't been good play in the playoffs for him. This is the time to show and prove. And I think he used this weekend as a stepping stone. Once he gets into the playoffs, because I do think they get in, then he has to turn it up to a whole different level and show us what Lamar Jackson is really about. Like I said, no team wants to face this guy. It's hard to defend probably one of the greatest or second greatest dual threat quarterbacks to ever play the game. So, he's in prime position. I think the team understands, what direction they need to go in. I think the coaches have reevaluated all the things that has made them successful, and they put it on full display. But ultimately, Lamar has the ball in his hands, and it's going to be up to Lamar, to take this team to where they need to go. And it's not going to be an easy task. I think the AFC Championship game is or nothing for Lamar this year. And he'll tell you that. He feels that. So, that pressure is real.
They compared him to you. 7. These 7 this guy, Mike Vick, for an entire season last year in terms of him being the next iteration of that next level athlete playing at the quarterback's position. And he delivered. And what's different this year than last year was he delivered on such a high level that he won the league MVP, that his team was a top-rated seed going into the playoffs. We're talking about pressure for the playoffs. They're not even in them yet. They have not even clinched a position in the playoffs yet, people. Hey, Crow, I don't know about you, but last time I checked, them Cincinnati Bengals, they on the streak.
Oh, don't do that.
Steelers. They just beat the Steelers. And they beat the Texans. Now, you may say with the Texans, all right, hey, you can beat the Texans. All right. But they beat the Steelers. And here's what's impressive about them beating the Steelers is that they created a longer losing streak for the Steelers. Like, that was supposed to be a losing streak snap. All right. So when I look at this Bengals team, they're not as far away as we mentioned before. They're not a horrible team. I sit here and I suspect this is going to be a very stressful weekend for Lamar Jackson because not only is he not in the conversation for being an MVP this year, but you got to win to get in. And it's against a familiar opponent. It's not going to be an easy deal.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's get into the playoffs first before it's AFC divisional or bust.
Thank you. You got to get into the playoff first. And the way Cincinnati defense been playing the last 2 weeks, man, been playing sensational. One, they've been playing physical. You got to think this game against Cincinnati is going to be very physical because it's like, look, if I got to go home, you going home. And at the end of the day, and that's what it's about. That's what football is about. If we ain't going to the playoffs, you definitely ain't going to go. We will not let you win. I think that's the mentality that Cincinnati's going to bring into this game. But the other thing about Lamar is, yes, he has all the accolades during the season. He can do everything during the season. But when he gets into a playoff game, the game changes. And y'all know this. You can keen in on everything that somebody does great and take it away. Okay, you can't go into a playoff game and your number one receiver is Andrews, the tight end. You cannot have a number one receiver and Andrews being your number one receiver. That's the only person you can really throw it to because Hollywood Brown can't get open. He can't get off a press. He can't do this. He can't do that. He only can run down the seam. So if you can't, Lamar Jackson can't throw outside of numbers. You know, I haven't seen him throw great outside the numbers. So when you keen into that and you can make him one dimensional, what do you see? You got to understand, when we're going into this playoffs, man, we keen on the things that you do well. And now we're going to make sure we take all that stuff away. So you want to throw the 7 route, you want to throw the seam routes to tight ends, we're going to take it away. We want to try to scramble and get outside the pocket. We're not going to rush above your shoulders. What we're going to do is keep you in the pocket and make you step up and have somebody spine on you and hit you dead in the mouth when you step up in the pocket. So it's little things like that teams are doing when you get into the playoffs against Lamar, and you see why he struggles. It's not the point that he's not trying to do. He's trying to do the same thing he's been doing all year, but teams keen into what you're doing into the playoffs a lot more than it is during the season.
Well, I tell you what, if he play like he played the last 3 games, then it's going to be ugly for anybody that they face moving forward. And like we talked about.
Mike, he did that last year.
Yeah, but before they get in, they got to win this weekend, right?
They got to win this
weekend.
You're
right.
His greatest highlight, the greatest highlight of his career came against the Cincinnati Bengals last year. And that was the one we had the spin move, and he embarrassed about 5 or 6 guys. You know what they got to do? Cincinnati Bengals got to watch that film repeatedly throughout the week. This will be the last day, and they'll watch it again tomorrow.
I'm sure they have.
Are they going to be shaking in their boots?
A little bit of redemption. I don't know that it's shaking.
They're going to be shaking.
I don't know about shaking.
I don't know that it's shaking.
Listen, I don't know about shaking.
He's going to do it to him again, whether at home or
Mike,
Hey, Crow, tell him about when people like Mike Vick do that, when they did that to us. We got to come get you.
Right. You got to understand how this team is playing right now. They playing with a little confidence.
Gotta
like
come
y'all
get
said before,
the
the Cincinnati team has got something. Listen,
Who's the
Y'all said
quarterback
it early
of
on
the
the show.
Cincinnati Bengals right
Listen,
now?
Who cares?
It don't
Who's
matter.
the quarterback
It don't
of the
matter.
Cincinnati
Who
Bengals?
defense win
I
games?
care.
Defense?
I care.
Defense is going to win this
Mike.
game. And the pressure
You know
is
that.
on Lamar Jackson. And that's a whole lot of pressure. You got to get in before you can be in. If you knew better, you do better. They better get it right. I'll tell you like this, because it's going to be a whole lot. You said a whole lot of smoke.
Mike,
It's going to be a whole lot of smoke.
I
See L-Jack highlights written all over this one. You say what, Crow?
You know how hard it is to get into them playoffs.
Yeah, no.
And now you're playing against divisional round at the end of the year. You're playing against divisional round opponents again at the end of the year. We know each other. We know the ins and outs of the game, what you can do good and what you don't. So this is a playoff game for Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's definitely a playoff game. For Cincinnati, you know, a lot of those guys over there, they over there playing for their jobs.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to be intense. It's going to be a tough game, but, man, let me tell you something. When you look at that film and you see a guy shaking and baking and moving and grooving, I mean, they're going to halt and they're going to stop in their tracks. When Lamar run up on them, they stopping in their tracks. They're not committing.
What do you do to that?
Commit.
Hit him right in the mouth.
You got to hit him.
You got to dive.
You got to hit him.
You got to dive. You just got to dive. And then, look, listen, maybe I'm up here speaking out of turn because I'm no defensive player by any stretch. I'm always offensive biased, but I respect what you guys do. And I respect what y'all say.
I'm not diving. I'm hunting. And when I hunt,
yeah, I know. Y'all left me with a sore back for 4 months.
Yes, I did it with the real one. I was able to get a hold of the real one. Let's see if Cincinnati gets the next one.
Who's the culprit, bro?
Lamar, I think this might be the first time I say it this show. I agree with you. I do. The pressure is on. The pressure is on this weekend. But as you said, has to win first. Can't have the conversation until you get in. You got to win.
That's right, Al.
Yeah, I know. Look at that. That was good. That was good teamwork there.
That's right.
But you know who else has the pressure on this weekend?
Uh-oh.
Tua Tagovailoa, who was benched last week again for Ryan Fitzpatrick after Tua was 17 of 22 for only 94 yards against the Raiders. Fitzpatrick didn't disappoint, going 9 of 13 for 182 yards and a touchdown, and he set up Miami for the game-winning field goal. But yesterday, Fitzpatrick tested positive for COVID-19 and will miss their game Sunday. But before that, Brian Flores had already said that despite the benching, Tua was going to start in Week 17. So, Mike, do you think the Dolphins are sold on Tua as their quarterback long-term?
Yeah, I think they sold on him, and why wouldn't they be? I mean, 6-2 as a starter, spot play in and out. You know, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't, him throwing the ball deep down the yard, breaking long runs. They had to be cautious with Tua, and Tua was coming off a significant hip injury, and they had to be real careful about this. And, I think Tua, more than anybody, understands why he's been put in this situation, and knowing that he has Ryan Fitzpatrick behind him, as a relief pitcher, I mean, it's a relief to him. It's not a lot of pressure on him to go out and perform, but to this weekend, it will be because everything lies in his hands, and they are playing against a tough opponent in the Buffalo Bills. But moving forward in 2020, I don't expect Brian Flores to be, pulling Tua in and out of the game, growing pains. He get out there, he go through trial and error, and he take the game as it come. And he live with the bumps and bruises, good or bad. I think that's what's most important for his development. But they got to improve their team, continue to get better on defense, put some weapons around. The only person he got right now is Devontae Parker. So get him some receivers, allow him to work in the preseason, off season, get that work in, and then he should be a much better quarterback come 2021.
Flores is a gritty coach, and he's building a gritty team. Tua is the long-term answer for this team. Yes. But it's 100%. Also a tone, Crow, right? A tone has been set, and that tone is we're playing to win. So if I got to bring in Fitz to relieve you to get a dub, that's what we're going to do. If I got to bring in Tua to relieve you, Fitz, that's what we're going to do. And this team is bought into that. The one thing that I like about this Dolphins team is that they've come to the table with this chip on their shoulder, like we've been bad for a while. We haven't been respected. And this coach is something different about him. We believe in him. And so he took a chance on pulling Fitz early on, putting Tua in, and it worked. Yeah. But now when doing the opposite in reverse, more than often you're going to say, oh, that's going to mess with his psyche. You're ruining the player. Like you're not giving him the ability to really thrive and grow. But I think this is an environment that he has created as a coach, and I think these players buy into it, and I think that that's making them better. So the fact that you see him pitch hit with those quarterbacks at times does not lead me to believe that it's because it's a lack of belief and trust in your long-term version of what you think is going to be with Tua. It's about winning.
Man, we all know what this league, what you're supposed to do. It's all about wins and losses. At the end of the day, as a coach, that's what it's all about. It's about winning and losing. So he's going to do anything he's going to try to do to win this game. But at the same time, you got to think with Tua, coming off that major hip injury, you got to protect him in some kind of way, you know. And I feel if he's not having the game he's supposed to have, you got to back up like Fitzpatrick. Put him in and let him win the game. And he did the same thing when Ryan Fitzpatrick was having a tough game. See, but the thing about Tua, he understands that situation because he's been in that situation before in Alabama. Wasn't having a great game. I think it was the SEC championship. They put in Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts goes out and wins. So he understands that, look, if I'm not playing well, I may get pulled. But at the same time, when you look at the Miami team, their defense is built to win games. This defense is built not from the offense standpoint, it's more so from the defense standpoint to win games. When you got Xavier Howard and Brian Jones and all these guys that you just paid big money to on the defense side of the ball. So those guys are there to help Tua as much as possible and getting the ball as much as possible. And that's what it's all about. It's about giving my young quarterback as many opportunities as possible by giving him the ball, whether it's turnovers or it's turnovers on downs, and just, fumble, whatever it may be. It's about trying to get as many opportunities as possible. In this game here, I don't see any pressure on Tua. Tua can just got to go out there and go play his game the best way he knows how and follow the game plan and make the plays that he's supposed to make and make the reads that he's supposed to make and just go play the game. The game don't make the game bigger than what it is. Yep. Let the coaches do that. You just go out there and go play the game and make your reads and try to get your team in a position to win the game week in and week out. And I think Tua can do that.
Boom, exactly right.
No mercy. Jalen Hurts has become the Eagles' starting quarterback the last several games after Carson Wentz had only 16 touchdown passes to 19 turnovers through 13 weeks of the season. Moving on permanently from Wentz, though, is easier said than done for Philly, who just signed him to a 4-year, $128 million extension last summer. So, Mike, will Sunday be the last time we see Carson Wentz in an Eagles uniform? And has Hurts done enough to prove he is the future?
No, this won't be the last time we see we see Carson Wentz in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. Just too much money on the books with Carson, and I'm a big-time Carson supporter. I do think he has the talent. I think it has to be packaged together and used the right way. The one thing I will say, he needs to have an incredible offseason worth of work, and he has to improve on his deep ball more than anything. That's why I've seen the struggles lie this season. He couldn't complete the deep ball. He couldn't complete passes down the field, 20-plus yards or more, and they struggled in that area. So if he's going to be back, I think they bring him back. I like what Jalen Hurts was able to present. And he'll have a chance to sit behind Carson for one more year as Carson go out and campaign one more time. And this could be the last time. But, they got a backup plan in Jalen Hurts. And it could be a situation where they compete, in this preseason. And whoever comes out on top could be the starter. And Carson might not be the starting quarterback. He could be sitting. So it all remains to be seen. But he will be back in Philadelphia next year, I will say that.
Mike Vick, there was this singing group that was very popular in the 90s. They were from Philly, and they sang this song. Let me see if my vocal cords can handle this correctly. Although we've come to the end of the road, still I can't let go.
All right, well.
Carson Wentz going to have to let go because he out of there. He's gone. It's over.
I don't know.
It's at the end of the road.
What about the money, though? What about the bread?
And so here's the thing I was thinking about. With all that dead cap, you got to look at it this way. There's two ways of looking at it. One, we can actually flirt that we're going to keep him so that we can keep his trade value up and offset some of that dead cap money.
Yeah.
But then secondly, then you start to think, well, we're going forward with a rookie contract quarterback. So we can eat that dead cap space because we're not paying it to this quarterback that we have right now anyway. He's got to prove that he could get to that second contract and get his big cap contract. I just think that it makes a whole lot of sense. There is a belief in Jalen Hurts that you see from this football team, and we'll find out more about that in this weekend's game.
I like it.
But I think that you cannot bring Carson Wentz back if you anticipate or expect one Jalen Hurts to be able to transition and be the leader of this team that you hope that he could be for the rest of this season.
Hey, one man's trash could be another man's treasure.
Most
you let
often.
Carson Wentz land in the hands of a coach like Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
A guy who know how to
But
cook
it won't be in Philly.
It don't matter. Success
Boys the
is
men.
success. Hey, give him one more campaign in Philly.
Yeah.
Give him one more shot. I don't know how the
happen.
Eagles fan base feel about it, but he deserves one more shot. He done a lot for this team. You know, and it's been rocky. It's been rough. He's had to go through a lot, man. A lot of situations with Nick Foles and the statue and the Super Bowl. You know, he gets just as much credit for that Super Bowl as everybody else.
Is that Boys the Men?
Sing it one more time for the people.
Oh,
we exit out on the departure.
That's all we have for you guys today. Happy New Year. What a great way to start 2021. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back Monday at 9:30 Eastern.